Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate bone and lung cancer patient, been dealing with cancer since late 2020, early 2021. Uh, I am a patient survivor of prostate, bone, and lung cancer, and so happy to be here and so happy to be alive. Today we are doing a very different type of a video, and it's a video that I just felt compelled to do because the subject is near and dear to my heart. And this is about the Southern California fires that everybody has been hearing about, and it's plastered all over the news. Personally, I will always consider California to be my home. I lived there for 65 years of my life. I was born there before moving to Texas. And I was born at St. John's Hospital, which is in Santa Monica, which is uh, a beautiful area. And I was raised in West Los Angeles and lived most of my adult life in the San Fernando Valley, which is north of West Los Angeles. And all of the areas that are mentioned on the news that are burning, I know them very well. When you hear about the Palisades, I know the area very well. I know Mandeville Canyon, I know Brentwood, all these areas that are on fire, that have had fires, Encino, Woodland Hills, and especially Sylmar, North Hollywood, Hollywood Hills as well. I know I'm familiar with all of these areas because I lived there all my life. It breaks my heart. It really does to hear all of the devastation. I mean, there's just no words for what has happened and for what is happening and also for what will happen. I mean, I believe I heard the death toll up to 25 people, and one person is too much. One person is way too much. The devastation with this fire is absolutely catastrophic. In fact, just being involved in a fire is very, very traumatic for those of you who haven't been involved in a fire. Personally, I've been involved and in the middle of probably close, maybe more than a dozen fires. There's been so many that I've lost track. I nearly lost my home twice, but thankfully never did. I'm very thankful, and by the grace of God, that you know that never happened. We were prepared, always prepared to lose our home, and in actuality, nobody is prepared if they lose their home because there's just so much involved that we put into our homes, along with the memories of family and friends. It's just many things are irreplaceable, but the most irreplaceable thing is human life. And, you know, a home, uh, like everything else, is replaceable, but human life is not. Human life is the most important thing. So the protection of family and friends, that is a number one critical. We are always thankful to come out alive with our family intact. And I pray for everyone involved in these just devastating fires. My wife Beth and I saw the writing on the wall back in 2023. However, in fact, we put our house up for sale in Somar, and what held up the sale for a few weeks was the fact that the new buyer could not get homeowners and fire insurance from a major carrier. All of them were leaving. And this was back in 2023. They had a difficult time getting the insurance. We had State Farm. State Farm was not writing any new policies in California at all. This past summer, State Farm actually canceled many policies in the particularly I heard in the Palisades because of the high risk, which I mean that's another issue in and of itself. So many people were left without insurance. Why did the insurance carriers leave? And the reason that they are leaving or have left is because of the fact that they were not able to raise rates to accommodate for the fact that all of these areas were just high risk. And these are private companies. So as a private company, uh, you're interested in protecting your profit, which I completely understand. And the wonderful governor of California blocked their ability to raise rates. And as a result, many major carriers have left Southern California, which is sad and it's just crazy. If we had still lived there, we would have been in the middle of one of the first fires. In fact, we would have lost our insurance because we had State Farm. And so we would have been right in the middle of the first fires, one of them was starting in Silmark where we live. I mean, it was an annual thing. And, it was exhausting every year when the winds would kick up. All of a sudden, magically, four or five fires would start in the Southern California area. And we now know that many of these fires were started by arson or by homeless people, uh, which is just, I have no words for that. And, I'm not going to point blame, but these are inexcusable. As human beings, we are basically helpless when we are in the middle of a fire. Fires create their own wind. So when they say, for instance, hey, there's, 70, 80, 90, 100-mile-an-hour winds involved, when you're involved in the fire, you can add, 10, 15, 20 miles per hour to that situation because the fire itself creates its own wind. And, I'll share a couple of stories with you where uh, we were directly involved in fires. The first fire, I lived in Granada Hills, and what that was when I was a newer homeowner in the area, and we wanted to protect the home. And what was interesting was the only homes that burned in our area, all of us had tile roofs. And what would happen would be the fire would go under the eaves and start burning the wood. And so there were several structures that the tile roof would be main, but the structure would be gone, or good portions of the structure. So what I saw in that particular fire was the holes that led to the garage with the screen. There were sparks coming in there, so I covered that up, and then I went outside and I started hosing. It was kind of crazy. It was a really crazy situation. I started hosing down our house, which was a really futile thing, but I wanted to do everything I could to save our brand new house. And after that, our house turned out to be okay. After that fire, I was at a neighborhood gathering. I don't know, it was a couple months later, and my neighbor who lived up above us on the house above us said he stood there watching me and he was laughing, and I thought, wow, that's pretty crazy. And he said it was just so comical. He had to stand there for a few minutes and watch me try to water down the house. So anyway, fortunately, that time everything turned out to be okay. And even though the fire was very close, it turned out to be okay. And you know, there was a lot of smoke involved, and so we had to take care of that. The second fire that we were involved with was really, really close, really close. And I had just finished watching a basketball game, and my wife was asleep, my wife Beth, and she ran down after I had finished watching, and she said, "There's a fire down the street." And I thought, "No, there's not. There's no fire." And she goes, "Yeah, there's a fire down the street." And we lived on a cul-de-sac, and we're towards the end of the cul-de-sac, and this was in Somar. So I opened the door and I saw a scene that I had never seen before. And it was a wall of smoke with embers in it. And I thought, wow, what in the world is going on? So I walked out to look at the end of the street, and the palm trees that were at the end of the street were on fire. So we had just evacuated a couple weeks before, so we had a dry run. So we loaded our cars, and I loaded my wife's car and said, "Get out of here." And then I started loading my car up with as much as I could. And it was like a scene from the end of the earth. Women were in their nightgowns, kids were running, people were just running frantically. It was like a scene I have never seen before or since. So as I was loading my car, I reached up my head started hurting, and I reached up, and it turned out that my hair was on fire. And so I put that out, and I thought, wow, this is the one. And so next thing I know, I looked up, in my next door neighbor's palm tree, next door, their palm tree was on fire. And I thought, this is it. You know, we are cooked in this one. And magically, I don't know how, the smoke parted, and a fire truck came up. And I thought, wow, thank you. Thank you. And a fireman casually came up and started hosing down my neighbor's tree. And I felt an incredible sense of relief. So at that point, I knew I couldn't do anything. So I finished loading my car, and we lived on a very, very steep hill. And so the traffic was stopped on the hill. And as I was stopped on the hill, trees were burning on both sides of me. And it was scary because I thought, you know, am I going to have to just ditch the car and run down? But I waited, and what had happened was we had a sharp dogleg right at the bottom of our street, and some guy parked a motorhome in the dogleg, and so the fire trucks had a difficult time getting through. I don't know how the first one even got through. I have no idea. But the incredible scene that I saw, I will never forget. Our hill was so steep that in 30 years, I had only walked up that hill once. And I said, I'm never going to do that again. It's just too steep. And I watched in awe and amazement as the Los Angeles Fire Department, their men in full gear, carrying axes and tools, we're running up this hill, and I thought, wow, thank God for the fire department. I mean, they were just going to do whatever it took, and it was just absolutely amazing. Needless to say, I was able to get down the hill, and I was able to meet my wife at a local hotel away from the fire. And the next day, I had a sales call that I had to go to. So I drove to the sales call and I told the guy, hey, I was involved in a fire, so, please excuse me, but I'm kind of, you know, I didn't realize how much smoke I had ingested, and I didn't realize, how it was affecting me. So I had an order pad that I was writing. I wrote this order, which I had written, tons of these orders. And when I got back to the hotel, I looked at this order sheet and I couldn't read it. So I had to call the guy back and say, hey, sorry, I just couldn't read my writing. Please help me. So my wife and I decided to go back and see if we can get back up to our house. And so we found a back way. We got up to the house, and miraculously, our house was still standing. So to this day, I will never forget those days, and how traumatic it was. What an unbelievable situation that was. So I understand to a point what these people are going through. I have not lost my home, so my heart goes out to all of these people. Uh, it's just indescribable. I don't know who to recommend as far as donating to, except for local churches. I generally stay away from the large nonprofits due to the fact that most of them, the money does not go to those in need. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to everyone involved, family, friends, as well as everyone affected. It is just indescribable what is going on. And I I have no words. I have no words other than the fact that please do what you can to help these people. Pray for them because they need our prayers and they need help because many of these people are left with nothing. Everything was burned up, and so with that, we can be uh, good human beings and do what we can to support and help people. And if you know anybody in there, support them and try to understand what they're going through. Because it is absolutely a devastating situation. And with that, I hope uh, that all of these people can rest uh, in with the roof over their head, because that's what's most important to start with, and then picking up the pieces as another story. So do what you can, and with that, I hope everybody has a good week, and I just wanted to do this video because I felt compelled to uh, share my experiences and involved with Southern California. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining us at To Be Your Own Hero. And we will see you next week with our regular videos. Thank you very much.